I know who I am. I remember everything.
Just because you remember everything doesn't mean you know everything.
Welcome to the J Mark and Asia channel. My name is J Mark. This is my wife Asia. And today we're going to be talking about the new Jason Bourne film. If you haven't seen it, it is the fourth, I'm calling it the fourth film in the Jason Bourne franchise. It's technically the fifth, but Bourne Legacy doesn't count. And for those of you that don't know, the film kind of starts out with somebody close to Bourne that delivers some information about his past. Shocker, shocker. The CIA does not want him to get said information, and that in turn kind of makes him kind of jump out of the shadows back into the world of Black Ops.
Because Bourne never ever has jumped off of anything ever before.
Right, exactly. But jumps back into the world of Black Ops operations, espionage, and the like. And so we're going to be talking about the movie, and we're going to try and avoid spoilers for the most part, if we can.
Yes.
We're going to try and avoid spoilers, although the trailer actually has quite a bit in it. So I feel like we'd actually have to work pretty hard to not spoil something that's not in the trailer.
This will tell you a little bit of where I'm coming from versus where he's coming from. If you have seen the first three Jason Bourne movies, you've seen this one.
So. Well, I think I actually agree with you, which you might be surprised by, but in a sense. So today you might be wondering, what is this lovely beverage in front of us? Well, this is simply lemonade with raspberry. Have to stay fresh, or I should say refreshed when we're talking about movies. But to start out, we have our little Bourne ultimatum. This is probably my favorite Bourne movie. But anyways, we'll get to that in a little bit. But so I want to talk about like my intro to the Bourne series. Mm-hmm. So my intro to the Bourne series, I've told you a little bit. This is my wife. I've told you a little bit of the story by the way, before, but my parents rented Bourne Identity, your favorite, and I remember I really wanted to watch it, and I actually was old enough to watch it, but it just wasn't my idea to watch it. So like they were like, "Oh, it's pretty good." So I was like, "Well, I really want to watch this film." After they were done, and I did, loved it, and I remember. They made I think it was called The Bourne Conspiracy. It was a video game for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
I remember that.
And I bought the PlayStation 3 game, and I remember installing it. Was like one of my first PS3 games, and I remember installing it, and my like parents walked in, and they're like, "This is a shooting game. It's rated T. Like it's not really that graphic, but like he's an assassin. So like, and it's before
like in The Princess Bride. Is this a kissing book?"
Exactly.
It's just a shooting game.
It was a shooting game.
It's just a kissing game.
It wasn't a kissing game, but it was a shooting game. And it's pretty cool because there was like quick time events, so like you would be like mashing buttons, and he would like pick up newspapers or books or whatever, just like bash people over the head and stuff, you know, in a T-rated fashion. But I really liked that, but I wasn't allowed to play it, so I remember. But like I so wanted to be Bourne, you know. Mm-hmm. And so
you were born. You were born in 1995.
But I mean Jason Bourne. I wanted to be.
Hi.
We're doing the show together. But I so wanted to be Jason Bourne that, I just remember that kind of fueled my love for the franchise. And then when I ended up finishing the second and third film, which I believe were already out at that point when I jumped in, loved all of them. And in my personal opinion, I think the second and third one are my favorite. I love Paul Greengrass's like style, which I know we're going to be talking about. Mm-hmm. But I love the shaky cam. I love the documentary style. The music is, I believe, the same guy actually scored all four of the movies, John Powell, and the music is, I believe, masterful. And that the music with the camera work, I believe, really helps the intensity, and that's one reason I really like the series. But Asia, I'm curious, how did you get into the Bourne series?
I got into the Bourne series. I mean, my first introduction at all was similar to his. I was the youngest of my family, and my older siblings loved the movies, and they talked about them all the time. My sister especially loved them. I, however, had never seen them. There's quite an age gap between me and my siblings, so I was able to get through my entire childhood without ever seeing the films. Then this guy showed up, and he loves them, like loves them. They're like his favorite movies.
I should probably say, not to interrupt, but I should probably say the second and third film, I kind of grouped them together. I'm just going to group them together to be easy, but they're in my top 10, like easily. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this new movie. But
yeah, so he actually got me to watch the movies, and that was my introduction and realizing the different tastes that he and I have in films. Now, don't get me wrong. I love action films. I can really get into spy films. I think that the concept for the Bourne movies is very good. I think it's pretty original. I really enjoy the characters. Not in my top 10 favorite movie franchises of all time. My favorite of the original trilogy is the first one, for all of the reasons that he loves the second two.
For all the reasons but not necessarily because the again, like I said, it is the same, I believe the same writers, and I think it is the same person that does the music, obviously same actors, but yeah, different directors. So
my opinion of the last two, and I think it's interesting because we kind of represent a broad spectrum when you put the two of us together with these films. He loves the shaky cam. When you go into the second two films, it's the really intensity of the shaky cam and just the quick pace of how everything goes, which lots of people, like J-Mark, loved that. They were totally drawn into it. It made it more intense for them.
Totally smitten with that.
Smitten.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I'm part of the crowd that was like, I think this is sloppy. I think that, yes, I do think all the shots cohesively work together, so I can't say that they don't, but I couldn't see it, you know what I mean? And and I'm the one who's watching it. He is too, but I'm one of the audience members.
Yeah.
And so the shaky cam totally threw me. I felt like the action scenes took the front seat while the dialogue and character development kind of went in the trunk. And that's why the first Bourne movie is my favorite. Even that, to me, is not like super high up on my list. But it is the one of the four now that I appreciate the most, which now you know where both of us are coming from, you'll understand why we each came to the conclusions we did about this new fourth one.
For sure. So I wanted to say this at the beginning and I kind of forgot, but we kind of went to a little bit of a plot kind of introduction to the film. If you're not really familiar with it, I'd encourage you to watch the trailer.
We can also edit it if we want.
Put it in here?
Yeah, like put it at the front.
Oh, that's a good idea. But anyways, I wanted to say, starring Matt Damon, obviously, Tommy Lee Jones, Alicia Vikander, however you say it.
Alicia Vikander.
And Riz Ahmed, he was the CEO.
Oh, okay.
He also is in Nightcrawler, which is like he's kind of he's in more movies now. He's really good. But anyway, so how would you compare the first movie to the fourth movie? Like,
how would I compare them? I don't think
are they similar in some ways?
I don't think so.
What are some similarities? I mean, there are some. Obviously.
One thing that I personally think should be done in just about every film is if you have an established feel, it's a very vague term, but I'm going to use it, for the way your film plays, feels, portrays, I think that you need to stick with it throughout the remainder. I think that's what your fans liked, that's what they went to go see the movie for, and if they wanted a sequel, then that's what they want back. They want more of the same thing, with some variances, obviously. You don't want to be repetitive. I think that the first one is so well known for its style, for its dialogue, which in a way it's difficult to compare the two because so many people like the second two, which are not anything like the first one, to me at least. This one also takes place quite a number of years after the original trilogy. I guess all that to say, it doesn't feel like... When did the original come out? Early 2000s?
It was like, I think it was like 2001.
2001, so
yeah.
so it almost is reminiscent of the 90s in several of the styles. Like, you'll see a guy in the first movie with, frosted blonde tips, and...
Yes.
Yeah,
right,
and so
yeah.
it's very reminiscent
Sorry.
of the 90s,
Yeah.
and I personally have always felt, maybe this one doesn't need to, because, again, it's a number of years later, the Bourne movies developed stylistically throughout the years to the point where the theme song that everybody knows and loves no longer fits with the feel of the movie. So when it comes on, not only in this one, but at the end of all of the second and third, it slowly starts to date itself.
The Extreme Ways theme song?
Mm-hmm. It's such a early 2000, late 90s type
it's not
style
a debate, it's a
song
conversation.
that I feel like the film should have ridden its original style all the way through. Again, this last one, it's hard to talk about. He feels very strongly about it.
It's not a debate, it's a conversation. It's a conversation.
Well, how do you feel it compared?
Oh, with the first one?
Also, I miss Marie. What's the first girl's name?
Oh, yeah.
I miss Marie. She was my favorite character in the original movies.
Yeah, I liked her too, but we got a lot of really good stories about her dying. You know what I mean? And,
It's true. She propelled the movies forward.
Yeah.
I didn't think they should.
But, so in terms of the first one to the fourth, yeah, they're very different. A good portion of the movie, almost half the movie probably takes place in America, which is unusual.
That is true.
Because, most of the other ones primarily take place abroad. Even in the first one, I don't even remember how many, I think there are some scenes in America, but actually a lot of it takes place abroad, like Americans abroad.
Yeah, a lot of it's in Europe.
Yeah, so...
Germany, Belgium.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's very different. Of course, like Doug Liman, the one who directed the first one, actually directed Edge of Tomorrow, fun fact for you.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
He's a good director. But yeah, very different. Obviously, Matt Damon is older, a lot older. It happens.
It happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I still would even though the first one's not my favorite of the movies, I still did like the first Bourne movie. If you've seen it, I still did like that one better than Jason Bourne. But so I mentioned some of the actors in the film, in the new film, in the Jason Bourne film. I've listed off maybe 5 of the main actors. What did you think about each of them?
What did I think of each of their performances? I feel like Matt Damon was Matt Damon. If anything, he is, if nothing else, he is very consistent in the way he plays Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we both agreed on with this last film is he did the best job he could with what he was given. I feel like this was the most difficult script to believe. And I don't want to say any more than that about it, because maybe you guys will disagree once you see it if you haven't already.
Like technologically, or just in terms of characters?
Character development, just the script. It was, I think we both agreed certain parts of it were unrealistic, certain parts of it were trite, certain parts of it were just lacking.
Yeah.
And lacking character development. But he was, again, if you've seen the first 3, you're going to get Jason Bourne. You're going to experience him doing what he does in all the other movies.
Right, exactly.
Tommy Lee Jones...
Minus the sex scenes.
Oh, yeah, there are sex scenes in the first ones. Tommy Lee Jones was killer. I love Tommy Lee Jones as an actor anyway. We both agree he was the best performer in the whole film.
I almost spoiled the movie. My bad. But anyways, yes, very. Tommy Lee Jones was amazing in the movie, I thought.
Very strong character. I think they also gave him the most character development, which I think is why his performance stood out.
Why do you say that?
Because he's in it, I feel like, more than Jason is.
Okay.
I feel like he has more dialogue than Jason does.
Well, I don't, in terms of screen time, I don't know if that's true, but I understand what you mean. I mean, I did tell Asia, after seeing the film with her, like...
He's seen it twice.
Yeah, I watched it twice, and I did feel like, for a Bourne movie, Jason Bourne did feel largely absent. because, I mean, he's obviously more on the quiet side if you've seen the other movies, but also there are so many secondary storylines going on that they sometimes crowd into the movie, and so it's hard for him to, like, you're like, oh, that's right, Bourne's in this, and like, oh, he's showing up, you know.
Think a step above Mad Max, like the idea of Tom Hardy co-starring in his own film.
Yeah,
it's not quite as severe as that, but that's a little bit what goes on in this movie, I feel.
What did you think of Alicia Vikander?
I liked her. I love Alicia Vikander. I think she's an excellent performer. Again,
so who did she play in the film?
She played an up-and-coming CIA functionary and agent.
Yeah, she's like a cyber defense.
Yeah. She's newer. She's kind of considered a rookie, but very, very talented. And she has to decide what to do with a lot of information that she's learning about the people she works for and the environment that she's put herself in. And she has to choose the way she's going to respond to it herself. Performance-wise, I feel the same with Jason. She did as good as she could with what she was given. Yeah. I was not impressed with her dialogue or her character development at all. I didn't think her performance was bad, but I just don't think there's that much you can do with as stiff of dialogue as she was given. I feel like in this movie we really lacked the dynamic the women characters that we've had in the previous films with Maria and Nikki. I don't think we got
speaking
that
of, Julia Stiles is in this movie. I almost forgot, but yeah, Nikki Parsons from the other film, she's in this, and that's not really a spoiler. You see that in the trailer.
Yeah, she comes back.
So yeah, I think we both agreed there's some dialogue between her and Jason, and we felt that was definitely one of the weaker points in the movie. It's just like didn't feel like really real dialogue, which again, it might sound like we're being too hard on the movie, but I would argue, I mean, in terms of what came before, like, I would argue such great films, even scenes between Nikki and Jason, especially in, like, Bourne Supremacy, when he's, like, interrogating her, like, puts a gun to her head, I mean, it's like, okay, this is, like, real acting and really brings you in, it's really raw, and then to contrast that with some of the dialogue, well, actually only one of the dialogue scenes between them in the film does feel kind of stilted and kind of robotic. The dialogue more so, I feel like, I know Julia Stiles is a good actor, I know she's capable of more, so I really feel like it's the script, not so much her as an actor. So.
Right. I feel like this one kind of relied on the other three movies to propel it forward.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake.
For sure. So what did you think about...
I gotta get more relaxed. I'm super stiff myself.
That's okay. It's okay. It's our first time doing this.
Yeah.
You're doing great. What do you think about one of the big themes in the film? There are several conversations regarding...
I just realized, when I was talking about the movie, like, dating itself earlier, I wasn't knocking the theme song. Did it sound like I was knocking the theme song?
I thought you were.
No! Okay, clarification. We can edit this and chop it onto the other half of it, so back there now. When I was talking about the movie dating, the movie doesn't date the theme song and make the theme song sound old. I think that they should have kept the entire movie series feeling more 90s and not have advanced it so stylistically. Because it has such a good theme song that I feel like I don't know, one thing you'll learn about me through all of these videos is that I am a huge, huge stickler for color scheme, themes, music, anything of the very creative side that goes into movies I'm very particular about. So you have a theme set up with the 90s and early 2000 feel in the first movie. That, I feel like you should keep that. And it doesn't advance. And also, they could have done it. There's a difference between the feel and actually placing it in today's setting. Does that make any more sense?
A little bit more. What about a film like James Bond, though?
What about a film like James
Bond?
Bond?
Because it does go through different eras. I mean, it does progress.
It goes through different eras, but they try and make them all feel as 60s classic Royale as possible. This is a tangent, but not necessarily Casino Royale.
Spectre, yes, they do try and go back as the Daniel Craig movies progress. They try and go back more, but like the first one is very much like very rugged, very raw. Like it's a lot more in your face.
Yeah, I don't think
it's
that
like a different kind of Bond.
I agree that it's rugged and it's raw. I, however, don't think that they sacrificed anything stylistically to do that, though. I think Casino Royale is by far the most James Bond-y of all of the Daniel Craig movies.
So, I think the Extreme Way song works at the end of all of them, even though they are.
I'm not saying it doesn't.
I'm saying even though he is getting older and it is transitioning in terms of years. But one thing I didn't like with the theme song was this one. It was like an updated version of the song, which I didn't like.
Oh, they changed
like,
it?
Yeah, because it was like they added a little bit of drums, and I was like, They didn't change it before, and I was just like, I really wish they would have just kept it. You know?
Yeah,
yeah. It was like dun 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 dun. You know, and I was like,
what was that, Jim? What was that?
You know what I'm talking about. This, it's like a siren or whatever. But yeah, so one of the big conversations in the film that comes up several times is privacy, versus surveillance. How do you feel the film tackled that?
I feel like it tackled it. I don't know how I feel like it tackled it, because there were certain elements of it. I mean, it made it very clear what side the movie took, which I won't spoil. You can probably guess, knowing the other movies.
Sure.
I think that. Okay, what stuck out to me the most
Talk like me.
about this film is I leaned over to him like halfway through the movie and I was like, was this shot before or after San Bernardino? Which was a stupid question because obviously it was before. That was way too recent.
Sure. Yeah.
But I asked him that because if you'll reference and you'll note, post the San Bernardino shootings,
yeah.
Apple and was it the director of the CIA? I think it was.
Yeah.
Had an exchange of words and tactics and maybe finances, and it was eerie to see extremely similar themes take place in this film. I don't know if I think they handled it any particular, like, did they handle it amazingly? I don't know. I don't know if I'd say that, but I don't think they handled it badly. What struck me the most about it was the fact that this was an accurate film.
So how relevant it was?
Yes. Literally before its time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was a scenario that had not played out yet, but was realistic enough to have it play out very shortly within its time frame.
Yeah. That was really cool. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So what were your favorite I can start out maybe. What favorite and come on moments?
Okay, my favorite.
Yeah, we'll go with that first.
Well, first off, if we're gonna do that, should we pay homage to who inspires those phrases?
That's a good point. So, favorite and come on moments. I love the podcast Real World Theology, and
Link
so
to
I'm
it
copying
below.
that from them. So.
Yeah, Real World Theology. This is a question that they ask, so this is not us.
What are your favorite moments? What are your poo-poo moments? What are your come-on moments?
Come-on moments. Favorite moment?
Thanks for that.
What are my favorite moments? Again, I'm not a huge Bourne series girl, so I'm trying to think what really...
I have work to do.
He has work to do. I liked... Not gonna lie, I think my favorite part it's a different answer than I gave you the other day. My favorite part of the movie is the very beginning because it doesn't take place in the U.S. It feels like the previous Bourne movies the most because of that.
Mm-hmm. Was it Iceland? I think it was in Iceland.
Oh, not that scene. So the second scene
with the bare knuckle fighting, with the fighting. You mean?
No, after that. So this is not the first scene at all. It's when they're...
in Athens.
In Athens, yes.
Yeah, there's
they go to Athens.
There's a big like protest. It's in the trailer.
Oh, okay.
There's a big like protest scene with like a riot in Greece. So.
And that to me showed again tactics and strategy. I almost said strategy. And strategy on the part of Jason.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I think it felt like the other ones. I also am a huge fan of the bad guy. He's a bad guy in previous films. I really appreciate.
You're talking about Vincent Castle,
what's his name?
The asset, the assassin. Okay, yeah. What are the movies is he in?
I thought he was in the other movie. No, he's not.
That's fine.
Oh, never mind.
Well, I'm sure he's a bad guy in other movies. But what were your what are like one or two of your come on moments?
The dialogue again. I mean, I loved the opening scene, not the opening, but the scene in Athens, just because I feel like the length of the scene was extremely well done. The dialogue during that scene was extremely unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
My come on moments involved. There's a very, very intense car chase. No kidding. It's extremely cool. It's an extremely well done car chase.
Probably the biggest car chase I've ever seen.
Yeah,
maybe outside of Mad Max.
It was excellent.
Yeah.
However, it was so long and just so involved.
So big.
That I kind of checked out of it before the coolest part of it that I had been looking forward to even got there. Mm-hmm. Like it didn't keep me on the edge of my seat. It kind of wore itself out to me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Yeah, I think favorite moments. I think. Yeah, it's so hard. Like I think my favorite moment. Was the scene in Athens, just in terms of just like scale. It's so the two like the scene. How should I say this? The two like set pieces that kind of bookend the film are so massive. The scene in Athens and then when they go to Vegas, are so massive. I think they were great. Also, my two favorite characters in the movie probably are Riz Ahmed's character as he's like a CEO like Mark Zuckerberg type
He did
character.
An excellent job.
Yeah,
he did an excellent job.
He was one of my favorite characters, and then Tommy Lee Jones was also my other favorite character, I think. And I will say this, there's a scene between Damon and Tommy Lee Jones that I actually really did like. I did like that confrontation scene.
Oh yeah,
I liked that.
Tommy Lee Jones just kind of brought every scene up a notch.
All things considered, yeah. And Damon did great too.
He's earned his registered badass. Can I say that?
You can say that.
Okay, he's earned his badassery in these films.
Yeah. Come on moments. That scene between Nikki Parsons and Bourne at the beginning. It just
it's so bad. This dialogue is so bad.
I thought
it was so bad.
The first time I saw the film,
I was like, stop being polite and admit this was horrible dialogue.
The first time, not the whole movie, but
just
several scenes, yeah. But the first time I saw the film, I was like, is that just me? Like, but that feels. And then I saw it again, I was like, nope,
it just sucks.
That just sounds weird. And I also never really got into Alicia Vikander's character. I thought she was kind of cool, but
there just wasn't enough there.
I was expecting her to be
one-dimensional.
More, like she was in the movie a lot, but she wasn't really that important. I didn't feel like so.
She just kind of did her thing and then didn't.
Yeah.
Unlike the other two female characters who enter into Jason's world and then become very important facets of his world in different ways, whereas she's just. She doesn't.
I will say I did like the car chase scene.
Yeah, it was a good scene. I liked it.
I've seen better in the Bourne films, but I did like it. I will say that. I did like it. So, two questions before we go. How would you recommend this film to your friends? Just to anyone who likes action films?
To anyone who likes action films?
Yes.
I would say if you like action films and you are not a picky person, then yeah, you'd probably have a good time watching it.
Okay.
I would recommend it to somebody who has not seen the Bourne movies. I think
Yeah.
this one would be better as a standalone.
Yeah,
because
I
I think
that.
if you have the standards of the first three, you're just gonna get let down.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so that answers 2 questions I was gonna ask. So, what would you scale it on the patented Schwarzenegger scale?
Patented Schwarzenegger
Yeah,
scale.
on a scale from 1 to 10.
20-point scale or 10-point scale?
20-point.
20-point scale. This is just me. I would probably give it a 4.5 or a 5. Because
Wow. Okay.
again, there were moments of the film where I was like, wow, like that was really cool. The majority of the film, I did not feel super
It was
entertained.
like a meh.
It's just, it's just meh.
4 is bad, and 5 is like a meh.
Meh. It's
So-
a meh. It wasn't bad because here's the thing. I can fully recognize the bits of it that were extremely well done, bits of it that were well written. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't a badly made film. I just did not enjoy watching it.
So I agree with Asia. I'd recommend it to people that like action movies. There are at least some memorable scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot, but there are some memorable scenes that are worth the price of admission. And
We also went to a really cool movie theater to see it, so that helped.
yeah, that's true. And then I'd recommend it to people. I would recommend it to Bourne fans because you are going to at least get something out of it, even if it is something to talk about and rip apart. But I would say so over the past couple of days I've been wrestling with this. I was going to give it a 7, and then just like 5 seconds ago I was going to give it a 6. I'm going to go 6.5. I'm going to give it, I think it's an okay film.
It's going down.
It's an okay film. It's not quite good, but it's okay. So I'd give it a 6.5. That's what I would give it. So, So anything else you want to say before we go?
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so before I go into the ending spiel, she has a blog. Google the Reviewist blog.
hi.
How do you find it? The Reviewist blog WordPress?
It should be.
There'll be a link in the description.
Yeah, the reviewistblog.wordpress.com.
Okay, yeah, and there'll be a link in the description. Thank you guys for watching.
I have not reviewed this movie on there, by the way, but I have reviewed some movies. It's
Yes.
a brand new blog, so be on the lookout for new blogs coming up where you will get to see. Okay, well, she thinks this movie is crap, so what
else
movie?
will she-
What does
does she
she
like?
like? Because I'm reviewing my top 10 favorite films of all time.
There you go. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please comment with what you thought about this conversation. Well, what could we do better? What could we do worse? And what
have we done worse?
And what are some movies that you want us to talk about? So
Yes,
thanks again for
thank
watching.
you.
And remember that when a Schwarzenegger goes to the movies, they generally like the movie that they see, but sometimes they're just kind of meh.
Meh.
And what I would recommend is simply lemonade with raspberry.
Bye. Like Mycroft's assistant.
Tell me when it looks kind of...
When it looks what?
Okay, it looks pretty, like, symmetrical.
Yeah, mostly.
It's recording. Isn't it?
It says recording.
Good.
Okay.
You do it and then it's not even... Okay. Alright. So... Feel good?
Yeah. Feel good. Blooper reel.
Feel for real. Alright, welcome to... Blah, 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 blah. Right, baby. Okay. Okay. Alright.
Stop it!
Okay.
Do we have an intro?
What do you mean? Oh, to have like something before.
Like a catchphrase?
Like. Not yet.
Where while you were out saving the world, the good people at Nabisco were out making endless flavors to Milk's favorite cookie. Like, that's a catchphrase.
Like Greg Miller.
Like Greg Miller.
Not yet.
Okay.
But maybe
Continue.
It's an evolution.
We can put that in the blooper reels.
Yeah, it's an evolution process.